Solar power while traveling, it sounds very simple until you actually try to depend on it. A panel goes in the sun, a battery charges, and suddenly you are living like a modern day pioneer with a refrigerator, a laptop, a camera, and gear, and enough power to keep moving. This is the dream that reality is that solar works extremely well on the road. But only when the system matches how you travel, what you power, and how much sunlight you can realistically capture. The first thing that works is starting with your actual energy use instead of just buying the biggest shiny power station you can afford. Write down every device you plan to run and how many watts it uses and how many hours per day you will use it. A phone may only need 10 to 20 watts an hour for a full charge, but a laptop, it can use 50 to 100 watts an hour. A portable refrigerator may use 300 to 600 watts per hour or per day. And cooking appliances can drain a battery incredibly fast. And this is why efficient devices are more important than that massive battery. 12-volt refrigerators, USB lights, propane stoves, and DC chargers, they usually make more sense than trying to run household appliances from an inverter all day. And the second thing that works is having enough battery capacity to survive them cloudy days and the bad weather and that nighttime use. Solar panels do not power your devices directly in most travel setups. They charge a battery, and the battery supplies stable power whenever you need it. And for basic weekend travel, a 300 to 500 watt hour power station may be enough for the phones, the cameras, the lights, and laptop use. And for longer trips with a refrigerator and regular computer work, 1,000 to 2,000 watt hours is much more realistic. And then full time travelers use induction cooking, air conditioning, or large appliances may need several thousand watt hours, but that it adds that cost, that size and weight. And lithium iron phosphate batteries, often called the Life PO4, are usually the best choice for travel because they offer them long cycle lives, a better safety, and the ability to use most of their rated capacity. And the third thing that works is using more solar panel wattage than the bare minimum. A 200 watt panel, it does not normally produce 200 watts all day. That number is measured under ideal laboratory conditions. That heat and clouds, the haze, the dirt, the shadows, the poor angles, and changing and charging the losses all reduce the output. And strong sunlight, a 200 watt panel may produce 140 to 180 watts for part of that day. But that output can drop dramatically in the morning, the evening, or under clouds. And if your system uses that 800 watt hour daily, you may want at least that 200 to 300 watts of solar, and more if you travel during the winter or camp in that unpredictable weather. And oversizing the panels, it gives you a better chance of replacing the energy you used without needing perfect conditions. That portable folding panels, they work well for campers who park in the shade but can place panels in the sun. Them roof mounted panels are more convenient because they charge while you drive or when you park, but the roof, it must stay in that direct sunlight. So a combination system often works best. Then fixed panels for that constant charging and a portable panel for that extra power when parked. Another thing that works is using vehicle charging as a backup. Solar alone can be reliable, but travel plans they don't always cooperate with the weather. Charging from a vehicle alternator through a properly designed DC to DC charger can refill batteries while driving. Then faster alternator charging requires compatible equipment and that safe wiring. Shore power is another useful backup when staying at a campground, a hotel, or a friend's home. And a good travel power system should not depend on only one charging method. And solar should be the main source when conditions are good. And while wall charging keeps the trip moving when nature refuses to cooperate, proper panel placement also makes a huge difference. Solar panels, they produce the most power when sunlight hits them directly. Laying a portable panel flat is convenient, but angling it towards the sun can significantly improve that output. And especially outside the middle of summer, keeping the surface clean because dust, pollen, mud, bird droppings, and road grime, they reduce that performance. Avoid that partial shading. It's so crucial whenever possible. And that one shaded corner can hurt more than people expect. Weather resistance matters too. Protect them electronics from the sun. A power station sitting inside a closed vehicle can overheat even if the solar panels are working perfectly fine. The temperature is one of the biggest hidden problems with mobile solar. Batteries, they charge and operate best within a specific temperature range. That extreme heat, it can shorten battery life. And many lithium batteries should not be charged below that freezing unless they include internal heating or low temperature protection. Store the batteries where store the body. Don't store the body anywhere. Store the batteries where air can circulate and where it will not become a projectile during sudden braking. Monitoring is another thing that works too. Most modern power stations, they show the input in watts, they output watts, and the battery percentage and estimated runtime. Pay attention to those numbers. If your refrigerator uses more energy than expected, adjust its temperature, improve the ventilation, or reduce how often it is open. And if solar production is low, check for that shade, the dirt, the loose connections, or incorrect panel angles. Watch how many watts are entering and leaving the system. And before leaving, perform a complete test with the exact equipment you will carry. Run the refrigerator overnight. Charge every device. Prepare a normal meal, and record how much battery remains. Recharge the system in real sunlight rather than trusting estimations. This simple trial, it exposes them undersized panels, unexpected appliance loads, slow charging, and then cable problems while you still have access to tools and wall power. And the biggest mistakes are easy to avoid, okay? Do not connect panels that exceed the power station's voltage or current limit. Do not assume a panel will produce its advertised wattage all day. Do not depend on solar for critical medical equipment without a reliable backup charging plan. The systems that work best are not always the biggest, okay? They are balanced. And the battery is large enough for overnight use. The panels are powerful enough to replace daily consumption, and the appliances are efficient. And there's at least one backup charging method. And for a simple traveler charging phones, cameras, lights, and a laptop, a 500 to 1,000 watt hour power station with 200 watts of solar can be a strong starting point. And for van travel with a refrigerator and regular work equipment, 1,000 to 2,000 watt hours with 300 to 600 of watts of solar is often more comfortable. And heavy electrical cooking and air conditioning require a much larger and more expensive system. And in many cases, a mixed approach using propane, shore power, or even a generator is more practical. Solar power while traveling, absolutely, it works, but it rewards that realistic planning. Reduce your energy first. Size the battery for the night. Size the panels for the day, and keep the backup charging available when those pieces match. Solar stops feeling like a fragile experiment and becomes a dependable part of the trip if you just plan it right. Thanks for watching today. If you found value in today's video, please subscribe. We're looking to build this channel, and without that subscription base, we just can't do it. And I'd love to see you on the next one. Have a good day.